The Secrets of Star Wars is brought to you by the Star Quest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give.
Hi, this is Vanessa Marshall. I play Hera Syndulla on Star Wars Rebels, and you're listening to the Secrets of Star Wars podcast. May the Force be with you always.
Hello there.
It's a power that Jedi have that lets them control people and make things float.
Impressive. Every word in that sentence was wrong.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
It's against my programming to impersonate a deity.
That's not how the Force works.
Force is with me, and I am with the Force, and I fear nothing.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.
Hello, I'm Kathryn Laffrey. You're listening to The Secrets of Star Wars, where we talk about everything connected to the galaxy far, far away. From movies to books, TV shows, and more, we're looking at the deeper themes and meanings found in the Star Wars universe. This week, we're discussing all 4 episodes of LEGO Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy. Be sure to follow The Secrets of Star Wars on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, your favorite podcast app, or on the Star Quest YouTube channel. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia, on X at SQPN, or on Instagram at StarQuest Network. And be sure to get your official Secrets of Star Wars gear at SQPN.com/merch. Joining me tonight on the panel is Jon Koral. Hello, Jon.
Hello, Kathryn.
And our resident ship geek, Dom Bettinelli. Hello, Dom.
Hello there. I have to do it because the usuals aren't here to do it.
Right? We need the hello there. So first off, I want to talk about some Star Wars news. So on Monday the 9th, James Earl Jones passed away. He was the iconic voice of Darth Vader, great actor, and actually a Catholic convert. And what's a really neat, fun connection for Star Questers is, the Magi are the ones who are on the Star Quest. He played one of the Magi in the 1977 TV miniseries Jesus of Nazareth, which happened to be filming right next to Star Wars in the same desert. And they even had the R2-D2 lose control and roll into the Jesus of Nazareth set.
I love that story. I'd heard that story about how they were filming like on the other side of sand dunes from each other, which is bizarre to me. The whole Tunisian desert, but they're on the other side, and then just R2-D2 rolls over around the corner into.
It's like too bad there's no film somewhere to see. That'd be crazy funny.
Yeah. But you mentioned James Earl Jones. I mean, he's the voice of a generation in a sense. Like he's that voice, and like in so many cool things too. Not just he was Simba. He was in Field of Dreams, and he just hearing his voice as Darth Vader takes me back to 10 years old in the theater watching A New Hope again, and he was the stuff of nightmares, frankly. I remember having a Darth Vader nightmare as a kid, but he's just so cool. I mean, he is as much the voice of Star Wars as anybody, and so sad to lose him. But it is wonderful to know that he was a Catholic convert. He converted when he was in the Army in the Korean War. So that's pretty awesome. Well,
and a shout out for Sacred Art. He said it was the beauty that attracted him to the Catholic Church. So, woohoo!
That's right.
And then also in Star Wars news, we have Ewan McGregor was the 2,798th star on the Walk of Fame.
Hollywood Walk of Fame. Yeah. That's really cool this week.
Yeah. And they placed him by Carrie Fisher's star.
Oh, very cool. And a lot of Star Wars stuff, connection to it. I mean, he's had a big career doing lots of stuff, but he had Hayden Christensen doing his introductory speech, which was really cool.
Yeah.
Did you guys see any of that? Because it was
just saw pictures.
So one of the things Hayden says is, he's the best Jedi Master that any Padawan could ever want. Until he cut off my legs and my arm, which to great humor. And then he says, "I kind of had it coming," and so. But he did, very emotional. He called him his big brother, and that they were very close. And It was so nice to see. Ewan McGregor definitely deserves it. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, he's done such a good job over the years. And then, so this is all about Lego tonight, though.
Yes.
So we have Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy. Just aired this past Friday the 13th. Kind of funny. Everything gets mixed up on Friday the 13th. And the Rebuild the Galaxy basically is everything gets mixed up when an ordinary nerf herder, Sig Greebling, unearths a powerful artifact called the Cornerstone from a hidden Jedi temple. He finds himself thrust into an adventure of a new and wild, twisted version of the galaxy where good guys are bad, bad guys are good, some stayed good, and the fate of all depends on Sig becoming the hero who can put all the pieces back together. So, guys, first impressions. John, what'd you think of this?
Overall, I liked it. I mean, it wasn't my favorite Lego Star Wars, but I did have to watch it 2 times at least because it was hard to, like a lot of the Lego Star Wars, it just goes so fast and they throw in so many things that, yeah. So it was fun. I mean, the only thing is I thought there was going to be a little bit more when you saw the trailer stuff about some of the characters, but it was, that we're so familiar with, and mostly, the bulk of it was the 2 brothers, which was good, and then their friend and the robot and stuff. But it was and Jedi Bob. And, so it was a good group that they brought together. But it was I enjoyed it, and maybe there's going to be more to this eventually. Who knows?
Yeah. So what'd you think, Dom?
I thought it was fun. I watched it with my kids. We enjoyed it. We're big Lego fans in this house, and I've built a number of the Star Wars Lego sets myself, so it's fun. It really kind of plays off of the Lego movie idea of building things, like the idea that the minifig people inside the world use the pieces to build stuff, and so it's kind of connected to that. A couple of things that really stood out to me, like just off the bat, like overall things. The name Sig Greebling. Greebling is, I think, connected to this word that the ILM model makers came up with called Greeblies. Greeblies are all of the little doodads that they attach to sets and props and things, so that make them look complicated and detailed. So, like model makers, I follow several different Star Wars model makers on YouTube, and they have collections of Greeblies that they use to make things. So I really feel like that must be a connection to the name. So I thought it was really cool. And if you want, I really would love to talk a little bit about the voices, the cast.
Yeah.
Did you guys check out who, like, all the names that they had for the cast? Because I didn't recognize Sig's actor until I looked it up. Did you guys get it?
No, Sig's I could not get. Jedi Bob I did, especially after watching again.
Yes, Bobby Moynihan. Yeah.
Yeah, because he's had a few funny Star Wars skits on SNL, so his voice came out clear on that. Mm-hmm. But I have to say, when you talked about the Greeblings, when I heard the name Sig, the first thing that went through my mind, well, he's a minifig, so I thought of Sig Fig. Being a former math teacher, I was like, significant figure. It's like those little parts that you got to know what's significant. So I don't, that's the math geek in me on that one. So,
so he was voiced by Gaten Matarazzo, which people would know him from Stranger Things.
Okay.
And so he now that I looked it up after I watched it, was stood out to me. But of course, they had some old hands at Star Wars. Mark Hamill was Luke. Anthony Daniels was 3PO, and Ahmed Best did Jar Jar, which was just fantastic. I mean, just having the voices. I was really pleased that they got those actors in there.
Yeah, that was awesome. And then for me, I don't know why, but this took me back to Saturday morning cartoons. I want to just watch it all again, sit down with a bowl of cereal, and just enjoy. Which then, of course, I thought of a bowl of cereal and watching cartoons, and I went right back to, oh yeah, what was my cereal Jedi name? Do you guys remember doing that, or have you ever done that?
No.
Oh yeah, it was on a box of cereal when the prequels came out. Actually used to come, the box came with a pen that looked like a lightsaber. And it was, you take the last 3 letters of your last name with the first 2 letters of your first name, and that's your first Jedi name. So for me right now, I'm Reyka. Hey, I'm Rey. So, okay. And then you take the first 2 letters of your mom's maiden name and the first 3 letters of the city you were born in. And so for me, that's Heideet. I was born in Detroit, so why not? So it's like Reyka Heideet.
Lido Spibos.
Oh, that's a good one.
I'm glad it was the last 3 letters first of the name, because otherwise it'd be Dolly. I don't want to.
No.
Yeah, I think I'm like Raljo Zeeson.
Oh, that's kind of cool sounding.
That kind of works.
Well, Zeeson, or something. It's hard to say Cincinnati as a, because Zicin would be my last name. So,
that's fun.
So, yeah.
Well, especially hearing Jedi Bob's name.
I love that the Jedi Bob. I wondered if Adult Swim did, Star Wars the skits, so with the doll, the animation, and when they did the Rise of Skywalker, there was a point where Palpatine kind of like complains to one of the Sith guys in the stands, "Nice going, Bob." And it was like, I wondered if they pulled it from that, because my kids and I, we quote that to each other all the time, like when someone messes up, "Nice going, Bob." So I kind of hope that's what it is.
So I actually found where it came from.
Oh, where did it come from?
So it's a fan base thing from a 2002 Lego set. And it was the Lego set for a, what are those troop carriers called that came in the Clone Wars, where they would jump out the sliding doors. So this character was in there, and supposedly he's kind of like pieced together from Lego City stuff. That's where his face comes from. Okay. And he's like the only one with the gray tunic and the brown hood. He never had a name in this set, and I guess fans started calling him Bob.
Jedi Bob. Oh, that is awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, I feel like this whole show is definitely like
it's
fan tribute.
It's like Easter eggs all the way down. I mean, it's really every scene has something, and that just confirms it. That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's interesting how I was expecting to see stuff earlier on, so that the slow start with meeting the brothers, I was like, okay, but then I really started to get into the fact of just enjoying seeing the life of a Nerf herder. And that's what a Nerf looks like, they come in different colors. How fascinating. So
it was an interesting way to start it, and really setting it in its time, because he's telling the stories. And really, that's one of the things I think they made a real theme of the show is, whose story are you going to tell? Kind of like Hamilton, you live, you die, who tells your story. And so he's spending all his time telling other people's stories and not living his life. You got to get out there and write your own story. I really feel like that was, if you could boil it down, sort of the theme of the show, it was really about getting out there and making your own story. And that's what we do with, the Legos, right? The kids, they build the set, and then they have a story that they play with it. I mean, when I was there, 9 and 10 and 11, that's what I was doing with my Star Wars Kenner action figures. I mean, I really like that.
Yeah. So it was a neat introduction to these new characters, Sig and Dev. And then, the whole thing with like finding the cornerstone. was interesting too, because it made me think about something that I've noticed in the last couple of years within the church. And that's the rural farm community churches seem to be growing in strength and number in a great way. I mean, really deep faith, and seem to be holding the galaxy together for me. Because you get great priests coming out of these small rural churches, and it just kind of made me feel like, yeah, it makes sense that the cornerstone of the galaxy would be in this rural community of herders.
Well, it was kind of like Lothal having the Jedi Temple, this backwater planet, and yet there was an important Jedi Temple there and this important rebel cell, and it really, it's another aspect I think of Star Wars, which is, from humble beginnings come great things. And in a way, like you talk about Catholic faith, it was a stable in Bethlehem, that where the least expected place for the king of the universe to rise from. And like this is, Tatooine. Who would believe that Tatooine would be the place where not just Darth Vader, but Luke Skywalker would come, and Obi-Wan would live, and frankly, everybody ends up on Tatooine at one point or another in Star Wars. But I like this idea of these places that aren't important, but big things come from there. I think it's a lesson maybe that our society needs to remember a little bit. The important things don't just come from the coasts of the United States, for instance.
Yeah. John, did you have a moment you liked from that intro?
Well, I mean, in the beginning with the Nerf herders, I finally liked seeing what they actually did look like you were saying. And it was pretty interesting with the, seeing the two different sides too. He was a traditionalist with using the staff. His brother was like, here, no, let's do it the newfangled way with the speeder, and it's just as effective. And then of course, then I think that what I really liked was when you got introduced that he had, Sig had force powers, and how they did that with the building of that thing. And then how he just wants, and the theme too, it's like, the whole thing of, well, the more power the more talent you have, more expected of you in a sense, and or skills you have, and how he just wants to be Sig, the Nerf herder, and everything's on the planet, whereas his brother's saying, hey, you've got so much more to give, and I'm going to try to get it out, and when he finds out that he has those talents. So that was kind of a neat thing. But,
yeah, Sig felt like Moses.
Yeah, right. I was just going to say, Sig is a real rule follower. He wants to be ordinary, just follow the rules, live, the hidden life. And Dev's the wild card. And Dev would be the normal hero, right? He's the type who wants to go out and make a mark on things. And it turns out when everything gets changed, that can be good or bad, I guess. Being that wild card, being the one to kind of be a little bit crazy or wild or rule breaking, that could go either way, I suppose. And so it was interesting to see how, it all built off of Sig and in some way, it's not so much that he had to become a rule breaker. It's just that he had to understand how to apply the rules, I guess.
Yeah. It's a good way to think about it. And we have a new droid intro, Good old Servo.
With an Australian accent. It's nice to see. Along with Omega, to see more Australian accents coming in.
Yeah, fun to have a battery that talks back to you.
And I want my iPhone battery pack to start
talking
to me.
Yeah, so were there any changes that you thought were like shocking, or like as far as when the galaxy changed, or were there some things where like, yes, I've always wanted to see that? Or
I think, really cool, I think a lot of people agreed, is the Black Falcon, the Dark Falcon. I forget what they called it at one point.
Dark Falcon?
But, like we said, now you'll see the true power of my dark Dark Falcon, this fully armed and operational ship. He's quoting Palpatine or Tarkin there. But I really like the Black Falcon. I think was cool. I think that was a nice look, and now I want the set because you can buy the set. I'm sure it's way too expensive.
Now, how many of your sets are you going to mismatch at home to create those new ships?
Well, in fact, my kids already do that. That's the funny thing is they build these sets and then they break them down. Like I'm like, no, you have to keep them as they are. So you build it and it stays there. Like, nah, that's no fun. And they build it and then they break it apart and then they mix and match and create their own creations, which is, I think that's one of the reasons why they make that a like Jedi Force builder thing, because that way because kids, I think all kids do that, really. Many do. They identify with that. Like, yeah, that's a good thing. And again, it goes back to the Lego movie where it was kind of making that point about, in fact, now that I think about it, the Cornerstone and the Craggle are very similar as well.
Yes.
The Cornerstone held everything together. The Craggle is what, crazy glue, was what held everything together. Interesting.
Yeah, and it was fun when they were trying to make their getaway. And first of all, Bob's ship is actually the ship that the minifig came in, which was kind of fun. He builds that. But then as they're flying under that arch and everything starts falling on them, that felt very much like the Lego movies.
Yep.
And then, rebuilds all the crazy fun stuff. Pod racer engines. We had... What were the legs he added? Oh my gosh, that was just
like Scout Walker legs or something.
Yeah, Scout Walker legs.
Scout Walker legs. Yep.
Yeah, just every change made it more and more fun.
Yes. I also like the what was it? The turn. Oh, I had it and I lost it. There was another. Oh, the X Fighters. The mashup between TIE Fighters and X-Wings. Kind of cool.
Oh, the X Fighters and the TIE Wings. Yeah.
And the TIE Wings, yes.
TIE Wings.
And then my favorite change were the clone troopers. It's a trap.
It's a trap. It's all a trap.
Oh gosh, you can't have that many Admiral Akbars. No.
Could have been worse. Could have been all Jar.
It could have. Yes, it could. Yeah, but instead we have Darth Jar Jar, which took me back to a episode that was on Secrets of Star Wars. A couple years back.
Yeah,
really it's what got me listening to the show. When you did that April Fool's thing about Darth Jar Jar, and it's like, oh wait, that could really work.
And I think that's one of the they really leaned into a fan idea, like Lego Bob, this Darth Jar Jar idea. What if Jar Jar Binks really was the cause of it all? Maybe he was the real bad guy in all of Star Wars. And I feel like the Lego Star Wars stuff is the stuff for the fans. It's an analog, like Star Wars and Star Trek. Lower Decks is the same way, where there's a lot of in jokes, fan jokes. Like if you're a real deep into the lore fan, you get the jokes. And I feel like the Lego Star Wars stuff is the same way.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yep.
And then I loved seeing the one thing I have wanted to see ever since the Book of Boba Fett was, what did Tatooine look like when there was actually an ocean? I was like, yes, there's water.
And the Mos Eisley Marina Cantina.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
That was fun.
And the cantina itself, I feel like when they went in, it was like a shot-for-shot remake of that montage, that first montage of the all the creatures. The different creatures that pop up and that they focus on. I thought that was really clever. I was really glad they did that, including a nice Dr. Evazan and Ponda Baba. I like you. He likes you too.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
And then don't forget about surfing Luke.
Yes. Yeah. Padre surfer.
Well, what I liked though too earlier was when you have when you have you're talking about the different characters or changes. I liked it when they're going through all the new Sith Lords, and it's like Darth Rose Tico, Darth Nubs, Darth Kid Fisto, and then Hammerhead shows up, and he's like, I don't know, Hammerhead, it's like,
I'm sorry, I don't know your name, and he's like, oh,
yeah. But everybody, it's like, I don't know if I've ever known that character's name either. It was always Hammerhead, it's like playing with the characters, as a kid, but.
Oh,
I think he does have a name, actually, but yeah. But everyone just calls him Hammerhead. And Darth Kit Fisto is in there, too.
Yes.
I was hurriedly writing down all the names of all the Sith Lords. That was good. The Luke is a surfing pod racer who cheats. Like, I love the design of the character. Yeah. He's got like a Hawaiian shirt open, very Magnum PI looking sort of thing with a gold chain, and it's like Luke, he's like an old guy. He's like Mark Hamill's age, and it's like, oh, you're holding on to your youth too hard there, buddy.
Would you notice what was on his chain?
What was it?
It was the Japor snippet that Anakin carved.
Oh,
I had to pause it. I'm like, no way, that really is what he's wearing. Then I started going, wait, did Anakin carve it? Does he know?
Yeah, did he get it from his grandma? Did he get it from his grandma?
Right? So yeah, that was fun. And then, later on in part 3, we end up with the unexpected Jedi hiding out. Oh. Boy, there were some crazy Jedi options there.
Right, so we got good Palpatine, who's still kind of weak.
Still a little sketchy.
White Jedi Vader, which was great. I need one of those minifigs. There was a Lobot Jedi, Lobot from Cloud City. Jabba was there.
Oh, yeah.
And John, you had a theory about one of them that didn't get named.
Yeah, the one that had the beard and the kind of grayish hair and stuff. He looked a lot like, I thought anyways, as George Lucas. And
that's
I'm not
what
sure
I thought
if it was, but it's, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought that was. There was a couple others that didn't. Oh, Bounty Hunter, Blue.
Oh my
Cad
gosh,
Bane.
I'm good. Cad Bane as a Jedi,
yeah. Didn't have any lines, which is a little disappointing. But he was there. He was there. Yeah, that was good. I actually jump back to Jar Jar for a sec. Just a couple of great lines was he comes out, on the ramp coming down from the Black Falcon and says, "Misa gonna hurt yous," which was great. And when they drop the skeleton of the creature on him as it's falling, he says, "How wooed!" Bam! And just great laugh lines. Those were we cracked up at those. I had to point those ones out because those were good.
Oh yeah, yeah. They did throw in some good lines there. It was awesome.
And Good Guy Maul.
Good Guy Maul. Total shocker there.
Yeah, which we thought for a second he was a bad guy, that he was selling him out, but it really turned out he was working for the rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out what was he wearing.
Hawaiian shirt, maybe? I don't know. It was colorful, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, was he working? Was he working at the cantina? Was that all swag he was wearing? I mean, I couldn't tell. That was crazy.
So a couple of interesting characters were not swapped, good for bad and bad for good. You might have been about to say it, but I was going to say, Leia was exactly the same. She was unchanged. I thought that was an interesting choice.
Well, she was changed, though, in the sense that her interest wasn't in Han Solo. It was in Greedo. So that's...
Who shot first?
Yeah.
I loved that. He shot his shot first. That was so good.
Because I was thinking that, too. It's like she was the same, but then because of her interest in Greedo, that's how she got switched around, I guess, a little bit.
Yeah, that's true.
She just had a boyfriend change, I guess. So. But Yessie did change.
Right, that's true. She was she was still a thrill seeker.
Yeah.
And she was a good guy. She was a rebel. So that's true. That's another one that didn't change.
I guess there's some that are just destined to be good, no matter what galaxy they're in.
And Yoda too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, Yoda was still one of the good guys. So there's a handful. One of the things we mentioned Leia. One of the things I noticed is the animation design. There's a scene where you see like the minifig up close, you can see that the artwork on the minifig, like on the Leia minifig, is kind of rubbed off, like it's old, like an older figure, because she's older. Like that's like she's been around longer. She's not fresh and new out of the package like Sig is. I thought that was a clever little allusion to that sort of thing. Really, the attention to detail was really great. I think it's a sign of that.
Yeah, they even scrubbed off some of Jedi Bob's beard to make him look like he was older.
Right, because that's been around a long time. The Jedi Bob figurine.
Oh yeah. But then, we have the whole thing with the Jedi trying to take off in their walking sandcrawler. Yeah, I mean, why would you put a sandcrawler on legs like it needs to be any taller? I don't know.
The sandcrawler at.
Yeah. They were going to so they had to go to Dagobah because that's where we should probably back up for a second. So the cornerstone was in a specific temple in order to keep the universe from the Sith breakers from breaking apart the universe, the galaxy, or the reality that the Force builders were protecting. And when Sig pulled out the cornerstone, pulled everything apart, but when you do that, Jedi Bob said, a new temple is created somewhere else, and you have to go find it. And so they figured out it was on Dagobah, which is interesting. And so they go to Dagobah and have to infiltrate there. And that's why they convinced the Jedi to come help them, which was fun. They were kind of cowardly and weaklings in that case.
And their little stall out. Yeah.
Yes.
And it was fun to see them all piling into Greedo, now flying Slave One with ears.
Yes. Although I noticed Star Wars has pretty much retconned the name of the ship. We don't call it anything anymore. It's kind of interesting because the slave. We don't use the word slave anymore. But it is. But it's always been Boba Fett's Slave One. I mean, that's just kind of what it is. But it is funny that Greedo and Han are flying that ship now, whereas Han. The only time Han flew on it, as far as I know, was in Carbonite previously.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and then in their journey, they end up finding the prison where Yessi had accidentally given away the location of a base, and all the rebels were taken off.
Right,
and that's where we find Yoda, who's also in prison with General Grievous,
who's a good guy. Although he still sounds very angsty. So.
Yeah. Who else did he have with him?
There was an interesting a plot point where they split up, where Jedi Bob and Sig go to the temple and the others go to break everyone out of the prison. I was thinking, well, if they're gonna fix everything, why does breaking them out of the prison matter? Of course, later on we find out why Jedi Bob didn't stop them, because he knew that it mattered. But at the time I was watching, going, why don't they all just go fix the galaxy? So that was
it's interesting.
Yeah,
because Leia told Yessi she's got to fix her mistake.
Yes. Yeah, and that was she makes a good little point. She says, everyone makes mistakes, but it's how you fix them that matters. It's not even just that you fix them, it's just how you fix them matters. I was thinking how the difference between those two things, and I think it's true. Do you slapdash it? Do you just do the minimum, or do you try to make things right? I think that's the difference. Just like fixing a thing or making it right again. So that's what she's trying to do, is make things right.
Yeah, definitely. But did you notice the uniforms they were wearing in prison?
No.
They were the same prison uniforms from Andor.
That's right. Just as you were going to say that, I'm like, oh, right, the white with the orange.
I was like, why are they wearing white? And then I took another look. I'm like, oh, no way. Those are the same uniforms.
Wow.
Imperial prison uniforms. The same all over the galaxy, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Then we have Han turning rat.
Yes, the Imperial spy. That was unexpected. I thought when Dev said he had someone on the inside, I thought it was going to be Servo, actually.
Ah, okay.
Just the droid, he got remade, and maybe he somehow, manipulated it. Han was a surprise. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely was.
And then,
so
I was going to say, we got the big twist in the story right around that point, too.
Yeah. That's where we find out. And it was interesting watching it a second time to watch Jedi Bob's face. Because there were several times where he would make small little facial gestures or turn away where it's like, oh, yeah, he's got a deep, dark secret.
He's not telling the whole story.
Not telling the whole story. Like,
from a certain point of view.
Yeah, from a certain point of view. Yeah.
Yeah.
I still am still trying to wrap my head around going, wait, that was his universe or not his universe? What? What was reality?
Right. What was the original universe was even different from the Star Wars that we know that got remade. I saw some fans speculating, and I'm sure this isn't true, but I saw some speculation that maybe this is how Disney will reboot Star Wars with this idea of the cornerstone. Like someone moves, and then we'll just mix everything back up again, and we'll have a whole new start to Star Wars again. I don't know. I can't imagine that would work.
No, all it does is make everybody happy who has a favorite book series to say, yes, this is my galaxy that I remember.
Right. Like everything in Legends was real in one version of the galaxy.
Yeah. Surprised they didn't have a Timothy Zahn minifig walking around.
Although you did mention Thrawn, by the way.
Oh, they did mention Thrawn, yeah. That would have been classic if they had a minifig Jedi named Mara.
Oh, bringing Mara Jade in. That would have been awesome. But yeah, you can't restore a galaxy once it's gone, which is an interest. I mean, we've done so much alternate reality or alternate, like in Marvel. And I mean, that's just a big thing these days where we have, alternate versions of the multiverse or whatever. It's a trend. I think that it's out there. And this is kind of a version of that, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see,
I felt a lot like it.
I was trying to figure it out, though, in the sense that, when you're, does that prior the prior cornerstone keep going? Like so now you have two universes, then the third. Or is it just, okay, now we hit this, we rebooted, the universe, and it's one big timeline where it just keeps getting reset kind of thing once you move the cornerstone?
I think I think they clearly imply that it's not a separate, like a branching timeline, that this is rebuilding, remaking everything with the same parts.
Right.
Which is kind of a Lego thing, right? I mean, that's
right.
Once you built it, you break it apart and you make something new out of it.
Right. That makes sense.
So, Dom, which of your kids is a destroyer and which one's a builder?
Not even Anthony is the destroyer. He's the great. We used to call him, as a kid, we called him the Destructor. So he's the one who spilled the gallon of paint all over his bedroom when we were in the middle of repainting it. So he's the Destructor. He likes taking things apart to see how they work. And the builders. Interesting. Actually, my older girls, they kind of a little have grown out of Legos, but my two older girls were definitely the builders, and so they liked Lego Friends and but they have plenty of Star Wars figures too. Don't get me wrong, and they are very much the organized storytellers. So they're the Force builders, but Anthony and probably Ben are both the Sith breakers of them all.
Yeah, I had a brother who used to build models, airplanes and others, do a beautiful job on them just to destroy them.
Oh,
I'll never forget coming home from college. I had left where he was building this airplane. I came home from college and I was showing my roommate, hey, this is where I live. And what is she greeted by? This airplane flying out of a window, crashing on the driveway in front of her. She's like, what's that? I'm like, that's my brother. I called him Ace Wrecking Company.
Yeah, I knew guys who do the model, the glue and, plastic model airplanes who would blow them up with like firecrackers. Like after they're going into battle. Oh no, he's hit. They explode. Yeah. That's the thing I love about Lego, though, is even if you break it, quote unquote, you can rebuild it. You got the pieces, you're there, unless that one piece rolls under the sofa, but it's lost forever. But in general, I mean, that's what I really feel like Lego is the successor to the old model plastic and glue on the plastic on the sprues model building. And that's kind of how I kind of got back into it again. I've been building some of the grown-up versions, and folks who watch me on some of our video versions of the shows, like Secrets of Star Trek and Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World, they can look up and see I have like the Lego Saturn V that I built a few years ago, and I have a Lego Mars rover, and I have a Luke X-Wing, and I build them and keep them. Together. I tell the kids you're not allowed to play with my Lego. You have plenty. I mean, my boys' room is basically carpeted in Lego. Like there are paths that they make through the Lego, and like every flat surface is covered in Lego. It's just, but there's a great app, the Brickit app that someone came out with a few years ago, where you take a picture of a pile of Lego, you spread it out all flat, and it will tell you what you can build with it. They will give you ideas for this is it uses some AI algorithm sort of thing. And it also has all the instructions for all the different Lego kits. So if you lost the book, so the kids will sometimes rebuild some of their old sets as best they can with missing pieces of, they've got the Republic gunship like we were talking about, and they've got, X-Wings and TIE fighters and all that sort of stuff. And so they do use them to rebuild. So, I mean, I love the world of Lego because of the creativity it brings out in kids. I mean, it's one thing to build a model and put it on a shelf, but Lego is great because you build something and it requires creativity, but also discipline. And then it's infinitely reusable. And I really feel like the Lego shows have leaned into that. Like they've leaned into, it's not just animated Star Wars. We've got plenty of that. It leans into what is special about Lego. And I think that's really great that they have decided to do that, to really bring that into their shows and connect it with Star Wars. I mean, it's a reason I feel like Lego and Star Wars have really gone so well together. I don't know. What do you guys think? Am I off base, or is there something special about Lego and Star Wars?
I think there is something special. I mean, growing up as a kid, I had a lot of toys of Star Wars, but I don't remember them making Lego Star Wars kind of things until a lot later. And then, I made like a couple, like when I saw, I was in college and I saw some models for like, at the store, and I did the Millennium Falcon, and that took a while, but I didn't always have the patience to do that kind of stuff. Whereas then years later now with the Lego Star Wars stuff, it's really good. And the thing I like about it too is like when I think about these shows, like sometimes when you're doing these, when you're playing like as a kid, whether it's, playing with characters or like if you're doing this Lego stuff, the thing I like is how they bring into the humor. Because there's a lot of time, okay, you can be serious and, okay, we're fighting and stuff and this is everything. But then there's a lot of times, when you're playing with your friends, especially as kids, you're just laughing and having just a good time. And that's what I think the Lego Star Wars stuff does really well, is it adds in that kind of humor that kind of really draws you in and, makes it more fun to watch the shows and what it was like when you could brings you back to your childhood more. I guess.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it definitely feels like kids at play. Lego Star Wars kind of in our house ended up with the Xbox games. We didn't have any Legos in the house except for a few sets. But the Xbox games, the girls just got into and loved playing the Lego. I actually messaged my oldest daughter and I was like, oh, please tell me was Jedi Bob ever in the game or something? She goes, I sent her a picture and everything. She's like, no, I don't remember seeing him. It's like, he's got to pop up. I hope he does.
Yeah.
But no, so yeah, I had to get my own set. Never had a Lego set, wanted a Lego set, so I bought one for myself. Why not?
What'd you get?
The Mandalorian's ship that was made from the Naboo fighter.
Oh, nice.
So just a little one. I wasn't going to go too crazy on a big giant kit or anything.
I know.
No time, too many other projects to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what... There was like some Easter egg things I noticed. Mace, did you see Mace Windu in it?
That's what I was
briefly.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought it was
just
him.
getting started, which is a Mace Windu line. I thought that was great. And then the Ewok bounty hunters, I thought were really great.
Oh my gosh, that cracked me up.
Yeah,
because their ships were are those called A-wings or Y-wings? Y-wings, yeah. But they still had their little like cloth and wood wings on them. Oh my gosh. Seeing those flying through space was just awesome. And they're just their little scream. And what'd Sig say? And I wanted to pet one.
And then evil C-3PO, which was like this, like in Rise of Skywalker, where he was the Sith 3PO for a while. In the red Naboo cruiser, which was fun. Yeah, that was good. And
I was surprised there weren't more. Yeah. There weren't more Wookiees.
In fact, the only Wookiees that were in it all were the ones from when Sig was telling the story from the very beginning.
Right.
That's interesting that they didn't use Wookiees at all.
And then
I kind of wonder why.
And I also was wondering where was R2-D2? Because they brought
R2. Yeah,
because
that's right.
You had that astromech droid. After Yessie was joyriding in that X-Wing or whatever, get launched out of it, but that was it.
That's true.
Oh, they could have had R2 water skiing behind Luke's pod racer. Dang it, that would have been awesome.
It is weird to have a Star Wars show without R2, like a Star Wars show that has Luke and Leia and Han and 3PO, but no R2. That seems like a big omission. That's a weird omission.
Yeah, that's kind of strange. And then they added one of those new, was it Young Jedi? I haven't watched any of those. The blue character, the blue Darth.
Nubs.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
I didn't recognize him. I gathered he was important somehow, but I really haven't watched the Young Jedi Adventures either, so...
Yeah, I think I watched one episode of that, so at least I knew where the character came from.
Yeah.
And that cartoony blue you can't miss.
Right.
And it still had cute eyes. I mean, as evil as it was. I don't know.
So, do we want to talk about the ending? They kind of leave it open-ended. Like maybe there'll be more. Do you feel like that they plan to do more? I mean, it's an interesting question given the state of Star Wars in general right now.
Yeah, I remember when it started wrapping up, and I felt like, why is this wrapping up so soon? There was still a lot of time left. I'm like, what's going on? And then to have it just kind of like wind down slowly to just accept, here's where you are. This is the galaxy you're in, and you're going to make it what you make it. And no resolve between him and his brother. And it's just kind of like, what's happening? And then the very end where we have the best.
The Landalorian. Which,
yes.
Oh my God. Did you notice the music? They did the theme music, but they threw a little like soul into it. It was awesome. I thought, oh, that is so great. This is the way, baby.
Oh, yeah.
That was awesome.
Oh, yeah. And Grogu, I don't know. He came out cute, and then he had that evil little look in his eyes. Like, whoa.
that was something that we were debating. Like, is he evil Grogu? I mean, I kind of want another season just so I can see, is it evil Grogu or not?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a whole interesting combination of things. I mean, even with Dev offering his brother of like, hey, you can remake our world.
Yep.
And
Vanessa,
then, and it's like, no, this isn't how I remember it. And right. It was interesting.
It was just a facade. It wasn't the real thing. He could tell, and like it was just appearance only, but in its substance, in its reality, it wasn't. It was just a bad recreation. I thought that was an interesting idea. It's like, don't accept poor imitations of the true thing. Only accept the truth. And he had to come to terms with Jedi Bob not telling him the truth. I mean, that's sort of a trope in Star Wars. You lied to me, Obi-Wan. I told again there was the truth from a certain point of view. George Lucas changed his mind about what things really happened, or however you want to put it. But the idea of you had to come to grips with Jedi Bob withheld some information. Dev is not really your brother. If it was one criticism, it was that Sig was a little too naive about that people really had changed. Like even after lots of evidence of Dev doing bad things, he kept going back to, but you're my brother. Like you're still my brother. It's like, no, he's not. Like, the galaxy has changed and he's a different person now. Although maybe they're really going for this idea that deep down there's still good in him. That idea. I don't know. Maybe if we do get a second season, we'll delve into that idea.
Mm-hmm.
One thing too, I was thinking about was how, I mean, Sig is kind of, he's always holding on to the stories and he's thinking about the past and telling the same stories. And in the end, because things have changed, when he did recreate his home planet, he realizes, okay, so many people get caught up looking at the past, I think, and clinging to that kind of stuff and wanting it to be like it was and stuff. And then the idea is, okay, we really actually, that was a great time, but we have to move forward and stuff. And I think he accepted, okay, this is a whole new world and that's not going to be like it was. So I have to move forward and, I can chronicle, what happened and stuff, the stories, but it's also building my story as we go. And I mean, I think, and then too, it's like when you, in the beginning too, he was with all that, he was kind of a lonely character too, because he's like, no, I'm not going to go watch Max Rebo and his group and stuff. And he's sitting there talking to his droid, looking outside at everybody having fun. And then you see his brother in this whole new world, and he's like, I've always been alone and stuff. And so then he can connect with his brother in that regard a little bit about, well, I know what it's like to be alone. And this is, so it was like, I thought that was a nice little connection with all that. But
yeah, it's an interesting theme that came up. Jedi Bob talked about being alone. You've got both brothers talking about being alone.
Right.
So that's kind of an interesting thing to think about in the sense of that kind of breaks down community.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that, Jedi Bob thought he was like, the knight in Indiana Jones guarding the temple with the chalice or something.
Right.
But at the same time, he didn't do his job.
Right. He used to sleep on the job. There was also, when they encounter Luke in the Mos Eisley Marina Cantina, Luke was saying, "Oh, I don't want to be a hero. I want to be a nobody from nowhere." And you could see Sig like going, "Oh, that sounds familiar. That's what I was saying." And I think it started to sink in. Nobody who wants to be a hero, becomes the hero. It's the guy in his stories who doesn't want to be the hero, who really does become the hero, the reluctant hero, who is put forward. And you hear that again and again in true stories of bravery, like Medal of Honor stories and things. It's not the guy who goes out seeking the glory who is the hero. It's always the guy who puts his head down, does what needs to be done, and when the moment comes, he steps up. And that's what happens for Sig, and of course Luke even does it here in this one, where he shows up to rescue them from Darth Ray and Darth Devastator in Tatooine.
I liked how Sig gave Luke, Leia, and Darth Vader the family that they didn't know they had. It was, they had to have that, give them their family moment. He had Sig lost his brother, in a sense, lost his family, but he gave them theirs.
It was great. I have something to tell you.
That was really good.
Who was it that got squished by Jabba when the ship? Was it Luke? That's right. Yeah. When the Jedi Walker sandcrawler ship was sputtering and Jabba slides backwards and squishes him against the wall. I laughed out loud at that one.
And when Jabba picked up, I want to call him Darth Sidious.
Palpatine.
Palpatine. Yeah. And he was just like, Yeah,
that was good.
I like Luke's reaction to his history too. It's like, okay, now you're telling me my father turns good for 5 minutes and then, and then somebody else, then my nephew wants to kill, and all this kind of stuff. And it was just, it's like, why would you want to leave Tatooine and do all that stuff?
Then become a sadly lonely hermit. A sad, lonely hermit. Yeah. And that was kind of Mark Hamill's reaction to the Luke of Force Awakens, which is funny. That he didn't love the fact that that Luke became an angry, grumpy hermit who is sad and lonely. So it's kind of funny that he gets to voice that.
But what I thought too, though, it's like on a little more serious note, was when after he gives that story to him, Jedi Bob says, being a hero is easier when you don't know the cost. And, it's like, and that's true, because it's like, if, it's, when you think about, if you look like at Jesus and he knows what he has to do with, for Calvary and, going to his cross and, praying the night before in Gethsemane, it's like, he knows what's needed of him and he still goes through with it, of course. But it's like, that's the toughest part, is knowing, knowing what's going to be your destiny, I guess, and then still following through with it, especially when it's not an easy thing.
He kind of calls, and Jesus kind of calls out Peter on that. Like, Peter's like, "Oh no, Lord, we'll go wherever you go." Oh, you don't know.
Right.
He tells him basically, you say that now, but you don't know what you're saying.
Right.
What you're asking. Yeah.
So, any other final thoughts?
There was a moment where they kind of described the dark side and the light side. I think it's Jedi Bob who puts it this way: the dark side is loud and obvious, like a big, mean Gamorrean kicking you in the head over and over. The light side is just a whisper in the back of your mind. And I think it's the idea of the dark side is flashy and glamorous, and the light side is not. And it kind of speaks to a lot of fans find the bad guys interesting, the most interesting characters, Darth Vader, Darth Maul, and there's something to be said about, maybe like they're complex. Villains are interesting because they highlight the part of us that we don't like. But there's also something to be said of, remember that the good is not flashy. That sometimes, but it's good for a reason. And a lot of people who are the most heroic are the ones who you never even notice. There are millions of, say, moms and dads and grandparents out there who live quiet lives of holiness and love that aren't big flashy heroes either. So I thought that was an interesting description of, you know, the difference between the dark side and the light side.
Mm-hmm. John, you have any final thoughts?
I don't think so. I think I've covered everything from the movie.
Well, it's definitely going to be on my rewatch list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be interested to see, I guess, if they do continue rebuilding the galaxy or what the next step is, because there is a lot of open ends, I guess. But,
there's a lot of possibilities, too.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot they could do.
Yeah, this is one of those shows that there's a couple of the Lego Star Wars that I think would have been great on the big screen.
Yeah.
This would have been awesome to see the Dark Falcon just filling the screen. That would have been awesome.
It would have been.
And then the Mon Calamari ships combined with
with the Imperial Star Destroyer.
Yes.
Yeah. Like that weird bulbous look to it. It was kind of,
They look like bathtub toys or something. Oh, yeah. Well, that's all for this week. We'd love to hear your thoughts about Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy. Send us your comments by email, starwars@sqpn.com. Please visit our channel on the StarQuest Discord community. A lot of great conversations happen there at sqpn.com/discord. And we'd like to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the Secrets of Star Wars, including Mark, Barb G, David F, Alex C, and Joshua J. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make this and all the shows on StarQuest possible. Please join them at sqpn.com/give. So until next time, Dom, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you very much.
And John, thank you.
Thanks. I had a great time.
I'm Kathryn Laffrey. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Star Wars on StarQuest.
Here's another show on the StarQuest Network you're sure to enjoy. The Secrets of Doctor Who. Find the show wherever fine podcasts are found or at sqpn.com/Doctor Who.